Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate consumers, to grow their practices, and to leave a legacy. I'm doing a series of spotlights on remarkable business intermediaries and brokers from across the country. And I'm honored that joining me on this segment is the founder of Sunbelt Business Brokers. Please welcome Ed Pandarvis. Ed, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you. Thank you for all you do to promote small business. That's the economic engine, that's the backbone of this country. And that seems to carry us all the way through whatever comes up. Small business survives and provides jobs for folks locally and income for families to grow.
Ed, kindly share with my audience briefly a little bit about your work and the types of businesses and the types of clients that your team specializes in helping.
Sure. We deal with what we call Main Street business brokerage. Main Street is kind of might call it a family business for that size. Most of our businesses probably do $1 million to $1.5 million in sales or less and have 20 employees or less. So it's a family business. And the biggest difference between us and real estate is confidentiality. In real estate, if you have something for sale, you put a huge sign out, put balloons out, you want the world to know it's for sale. In a business, you don't want anybody to know it's for sale. Employees, customers, vendors, bank, landlord, anyone, until the appropriate time, if the business is sold, and all of those folks would have an opportunity to know of the transfer. But the economic entity of that business makes a living for the owner and their family and has for years. I believe with all my heart it can make a living for somebody else if they want to sell it, that we can find the right buyer to go into that business. Most of the time when I'm dealing with a buyer, I suggest that they look for a business that they like. That sounds funny, but if you hate to get up and go to work every day, you got a problem. I don't care what kind of business it is, how much money it makes. And most of the time folks do that. You'll find most successful people are in a business that they like. And quite frankly, that's usually the way we even identify ourselves. First question I might have with you, Mark, is where are you from? But the second question of introduction, what do you do? And most people, what they do is their business, is their life. That's the income, how they make a living for themselves and their family. So it's an important business. It's not a well-known business. Most folks never heard of a business broker until they run into an opportunity to get into our marketplace, you might say, and look to buy a business or sell a business. And every business at some point will be for sale. And most of the time it is, as I said, is driven by the, you might say, the family situation or the personal situation of the owner, more so than just an economic investment. This isn't just an investment. This is, I'm selling this business because I'm ill, I'm getting a divorce, I'm dying. Can't run. I've opened 3 locations. I can run one better than that. I need to sell 2. And out of that comes a business opportunity that's for sale. I jokingly say we don't sell business guarantees. We sell business opportunities. And it's an opportunity to take a business that's already up and running and been making somebody a family living for years. And that location got trained employees, customer base, cash flow already proven. That's usually a lot safer than a startup. And Mark, one of the things that I'm working on now is trying to encourage the Small Business Administration to put more emphasis on buying a business. When they first were formed in 1953 under the Eisenhower administration, their mission was to help Americans start, build, and grow businesses. That hadn't changed. What has changed is the business brokerage market is so much safer to buy an existing business and start up and have a better chance of continued success and start up from scratch and just open up your doors and hope somebody, the market will respond to your product or service. So we sell existing successful businesses, and hopefully that new buyer is going to take it to another level of success.
To your point, when most people start a business, they don't even think about starting it to sell in the future. Yeah. So after running a family business for so many years, I'd imagine considering selling it finally, it's like a shock to them. It's like the first time they're going through this process. So like anybody else that does something for the first time, they don't even know what questions to ask, except for how much do you cost? So when people reach out to a business broker to get help in selling their businesses, what kind of questions do you get from folks that are first-time sellers?
Well, that addresses another kind of unique aspect of our industry, is we are normally probably the only broker involved in the transaction. Now, we work for the seller, we list and sell the business. We certainly don't work against the buyer. At the end of the day, we're probably going to spend more time with the buyer than we do the seller. And the business deal has got to work for both the buyer and the seller, or it probably won't work. I always tell folks, we're not dealing with foolish buyers, and we're not dealing with foolish sellers. So at the end of the day, the market itself is going to help us negotiate a deal that works for both the buyer and the seller. Sometimes we sell the financing as a part of the package because that's the only way to make it work. That accommodates the fact that the financials have been done to minimize taxes. One of the ways you can get the buyer's comfort level, you might say, with the transaction is the very fact that the seller, who knows more about that business than anybody else in the world, is going to lend you part of the money to buy it. He's kind of putting his money where his mouth is. This business will make you a living. I'm convinced you can pay me and make a living. And sometimes that's a strong understrength of that deal between the buyer and the seller in that relationship. And then when it comes to business, even though it is business, this is a relationship business. The better I get to know my seller and their business and how they've operated their business and the thing, the better I get to know the buyer. And unlike real estate, where Mark, if I was selling your house, I'd ask you and your wife to leave there. I don't want buyer and seller to meet each other. In our business, the very first thing I'd like is buyer and seller to meet each other. I'd like to go to that business maybe after hours, do a walkthrough, let the seller present the business to you. Look at all the equipment. Look at the furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Look at the fact that that business has made those folks a living for 15 years, 12 years, 3 years, whatever that number is, 25 years. And as the buyer and seller get to know each other, there's a much better chance that I can put a deal together between the buyer and seller. Just looking at financials and trying to get you to make a reasonable offer on a business that the financials don't show a huge net profit is very difficult to do. So I'm going to try to build that relationship first and then build on that relationship between the buyer and seller. Sometimes we can get third-party financing, SBA, sometimes not. Most of the deals we're doing now, we can get SBA financing on. We have to recast those numbers and show them, because the business has got to have enough money for the buyer to make a living and to carry that debt service. No doubt about that.
That's a really great distinction that you made when you mentioned that if you were selling real estate, you could take the family out of the home because the new buyer wants to see it as their home. But when you sell a business, you really want to show the establishment of the business in the community or in the industry and how it's been in functioning, because they're taking over something that already has value and exists. So that is a huge distinction right there that probably out of sight, out of mind for a lot of folks. Ed, I have a question for you. This entire series has been inspired by the news and the whole great resignation that people are talking about, and folks leaving corporate America to go off into their own business. And of course, buying existing business is a much safer way to go. Having the pulse on 250 offices across the country and in 11 foreign countries, have you seen the impact of the great resignation in the market as far as the number of buyers entering the market, and has it motivated more sellers that have been sitting on the fence? What have you seen?
I do think that we've seen a very positive movement of number and increase of buyers in the marketplace. I think one of the more overused phrases is the word entrepreneur, because an entrepreneur is a risk taker. And when I'm coming to the market, I don't want risk. I mean, this is my life savings. This has got to work. This is how I'm going to make a living for myself and my family. But we've seen a lot of folks that are looking at that option, Mark, that weren't before, because, you know, our whole economic and educational system in colleges and universities is based on getting a job, getting a good education, and getting a good job with a company. Very few people graduate from college and say, I want to run a dry cleaners, I want to run a restaurant. They move into that as they get into their work life, you might say, and they usually focus on an area of business that they like, and using that background and experience, oftentimes the buyer finds a business that he can use that background and experience to expand the business. Most every buyer of a business wants to grow. But we see an active market because from the seller's standpoint, pandemic or not, sellers going to die, retire, move, get a divorce, burn out, relocate, move, build 3 locations, need to sell 1 or 2. That circumstance is still there. From the buyer standpoint, we are seeing an increased number of buyers who are used to Zoom now and staying home and having a break, you might say, in just that corporate mentality of moving up the corporate ladder. There is no corporate ladder. I mean, there's not, you might say there's not a real big loyalty to both the corporation or the corporation to the employees anymore like it used to be. And so it used to be, I think you'd graduate from college and you can work through that business 30 years and retire and get to go watch. Nobody does that anymore. They're going to move from job to job, all from opportunity maybe to buy a business and build their own family business. And one of our biggest jobs as a business broker is to educate a buyer, quite frankly, on what he's looking at. I can't just give you the financials and it shows a $12,000 profit or $12,000 loss. What is that? I've got to show you what you're looking at, help you understand what you're looking at, and bring the seller into that discussion also. Mr. Seller, show me where the money is that you, because we add back all the advantages and the perks of owning your own business and things. And that gives us the net cash flow sufficient to carry the debt service for the new owner and help the new owner make a living. And those two things have to be there, it won't work.
Entrepreneurs are a lot like pioneers, but pioneers come back full of arrows. So it's a really important distinction there. And I know it's a term thrown around pretty loosely between entrepreneur and business owner. Ed, I wanted to ask you, what inspired you to get into this field to begin with? Like, take us back, and how did you get interested in helping other businesses sell and match them with buyers? And how did you start Sunbelt?
Well, I like selling businesses, but I backed into this business, quite frankly. I was in the real estate and construction development business about 15 years. And the interest rate went up to 18, 20, 22%, right around 80. I said, okay, I'm done. Broke the savings and loans, broke me too. And I kind of backed into this business, Mark. And one of the things I liked about it originally is, quite frankly, we didn't deal with banks. We put a deal together between the buyer and the seller. And the buyer put down whatever they could put down as far as a down payment. And the seller financed the balance. We've kind of come a long ways to where now we expect to get third-party financing from a bank with an SBA guarantee. But banks still won't make a loan normally without an SBA guarantee. And I'm pleased to see that participation in that third-party financing. But when I first started, it was put a deal together between the buyer and seller. And quite frankly, I think that boded me well as we kept growing, because we just focus on building a relationship between the buyer and the seller first. If you don't do that, you have a hard time putting a deal together that's going to work and hold it together. If you build a relationship first, the buyer's got no questions, let's get back with the seller and let him explain that for you and thing. And then the seller, of course, has got shows that they've got a vested interest in the continued success of the business if they're a finance part of it. And SBA even requires the seller to hold back about 10% so they've got a vested interest in that continued success of the business. But we started growing in right around 1980. We were here in Charleston, and opened an office in Greenland, Columbia, in Charlotte, and Augusta. And the lawyer said, well, you walk like a duck, you talk like a duck, you're franchise, you got to fly, because we license people to use your name, training them, and you got an ongoing relation. And for about 15 years, what I did was, I'm not a big business person, I'm a small business person. I teach people how to list and sell and value businesses. And for 15 years, I went somewhere every Wednesday week. There are 12 major hubs in the United States: Dallas, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, where y'all are. They're too cold up there for me now. I go there in the summer. With New York, Orlando, Florida, Atlanta. All of those are hub cities, I call them. Folks are used to coming to Chicago. They go there on a shopping trip or to see a ball game. They'll come to Chicago for a 500-mile little train broker. And we did free training for the brokers. And even if somebody was looking to the franchise, I'd invite them to my meeting. They say, how much is it? Nothing. I'm going to be training brokers there anyway for 2 days. So at Thursday and Friday, we train brokers, and I'd come home on Friday night or Saturday morning. The wonderful side effect of that, it let me meet literally everybody that came into Sunbelt, not just the office owner, but I trained every one of their brokers for them. I said, I'll be back in this area every 90 days on a rotation. You hire a broker, send them our training. And it gave me the feedback, as you know from training, and educating folks. The feedback when you're teaching is fantastic. I got 10 or 12 very smart people coming into the business, and they all got ideas and things. I said, boy, that's a good idea. We'll do that. We'll add this to our portfolio and things. So it kind of kept us on the cutting edge of that, you might say. We had the wonderful opportunity to build a big organization. And quite frankly, it got too big for me to run as far as operations is concerned. And I sold it to folks in Cleveland in 2006. They do a better job than I do as far as managing the operation. But I do a better job of training. I had a contract to help train them still for 5 years. And that's still what I do. I wrote a book, of course, about secrets of buying the right business for you right. And if you go to Biz Buy Sell, I did seminars with them. You'll find they use my book, and it's called Biz Buy Sell Guide to Buying a Business by Ed Pandarvis. And hopefully what we're trying to do is get folks to understand the process so they can make the right decision on behalf of themselves and their family.
For folks that are listening now that are considering selling their businesses, or folks that are looking to buy a business and would love to connect with one of your brokers across the country, how can they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Well, now we've got a free thing on the website called Business Buyers University. That's a website I own that does education. And you get my book and video free on a one-on-one course. Or you can call me anytime. Be glad to talk to you and walk you through things. And we have, if you don't mind, I'll give up my cell number is 843-819-7842. Give me a call anytime. Be glad to talk with you about buying a business or selling a business or being a business broker. Anyway, we could be of help to you. We're in Charleston, South Carolina, a beautiful historic city. But if you get in touch with me there or by email, it's etp@sunbeltnetwork.com. Ed Tom Paul, etp@sunbeltnetwork.com. And I look forward to talking with you, and hopefully we can help you be of some benefit to you in buying or selling a business, make a living for yourself and your family. And you just might have the opportunity to make a living for the rest of your life and grow into a big business. Almost every big business started off as a small business, no doubt about that.
Ed, this has been terrific, and it's been an honor having you on the program. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to share with my audience and share your great insights today. And I wish you continued success for you, for your companies, and all of your clients.
Listen, man, thank you for the opportunity. Happy New Year. Hopefully we'll get through this pandemic and get back to work big time.
That was Ed Pandarvis. He's the founder and chairman emeritus of Sunbelt Business Brokers. And this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.